won't believe how this game ends. Reti is playing with the white pieces against Tartakower, who decides to play the Carocan defense. And just so you know, Tartakower with the black pieces invented a system called the Tartakower variation in the Carocan. He's gonna get absolutely destroyed in 11 moves 120 years ago. Reti played a game 120 years ago with 99.2 accuracy. Reti goes with the classical variation, knight c3. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking right now that it's just 11 moves. So it's quite easy to have an accuracy of 99.2. You know what's hard? Is to win in 11 moves against Tartakower. This is hard. So here he went knight c3. So he's defending the center. In the game he went knight f6, which is a move that I do not like. I've been playing the Carocan with black for the past 15 years. And I will show you at the end of this game, if you're still there watching, I'll show you how to play with black. But I do not like this move. For a simple reason. People can take, which is the main move today. If you take with this pawn, like this is the Tartakower variation, and Tartakower in this game is playing with black. The pawn structure is extremely healthy. Look at these double pawns. How can black actually equalize here? I don't know if you can prove it, but I simply do not like this variation. At the end of the game that I will show you that is amazing, I'll show you how to play with black. In this situation, Reti decided to go with queen d3. That is a sneaky move. Very sneaky. Tartakower is saying, you do not basically take and accept my variation. I'm gonna play aggressively and I'm gonna show you what I can do in this position. And he goes with e5, that you can see is not a good move. Thinking that if you take, he's not gonna take the queen actually on d3 here. What he's gonna do is that he's gonna give you a check. He's gonna check the king and then he's gonna get the pawn back. But he's in for a surprise. It's not gonna be that easy. Reti had something in mind here. He went bishop d2, attacking the queen, which is totally normal. The queen takes the pawn. And this is what Tartakower saw 120 years ago, thinking, remember, there was no engine 120 years ago giving you solutions and stuff, right? And now he was thinking, okay, this is pinned. He has an issue with his knight. What does he do with the knight here? Because if he plays a move like f3, I simply take, queen take, pawn takes. And this is an isolated pawn. And I'm happy with black to have this kind of position. Do you really think this is what Reti did? And this is why I'm showing you this game. Here, my friend, I want you to be vicious for the next 3 minutes. Sneaky the way you think. You are playing with white. This piece is attacked. What do? Do you defend it? Do you play something else? What do you think Reti actually did here? Do you think he played like such a sad move? This one, f3, and having everything exchange here. Do you think this is what he did? I wouldn't have shown you the game, right? So that's not what happened. Here in this situation, the winning move is long castle. Totally ignoring that this knight is attacked. Totally ignoring this. Because there is an amazing variation here. In the game, it went knight takes knight. As you can see, it's a blunder. It's a big blunder. Obviously, you're thinking right now, okay, if I take with the queen, what happens? Very simple. You lose the queen. It's gone because it's pinned. So you cannot play this. How about I take with the knight? There is a checkmate in 3 moves here. Try to find it. You know what's weird about this position? Is that if I was Tartakower here, and I'm thinking Reti just long castled, and he's giving me a knight, would you take the knight, or would you have like, you know, your GPS telling you like something is wrong? He's giving me a piece, he's a grandmaster, he's one of the best players in the world. Is he really giving me this? But he still takes, and he doesn't see a checkmate in 3 moves. I don't get it. For such brilliant minds, I don't get it. When someone is giving you a piece or okay, I'm just gonna say it. When someone is giving you something in life that you think you didn't deserve, you should ask yourself some questions. Something is wrong, all right? And here, Tartakower just took the piece. But then he lost after a queen sacrifice, an amazing queen sacrifice. How can you see this coming? Have you seen this queen that was here and is just giving herself up on a square like d8? You are forced to take. Now there is a discovery because there is a rook here. When I move the bishop, it's going to be a check. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to move it here. So now it's a double check. It's a double check. You are forced to move the king. Why? If you take this one, you're still in check. So you have to move the king. And it doesn't matter where you go. If you go here, this is a checkmate in 11 moves. This is totally crazy. And you could go actually on this square, but then you would get checkmated this way. So that's the game that I wanted to show you, that 120 years ago, someone like Tartakower, who created a system, actually managed to lose in 11 moves with the Caro-Kann. And now, let me show you and flip the board. For people who are still here, there is a bonus, because I'm going to show you how to play, basically against the system that he played, knight c3, the classical variation. I want you to take, he takes, and now there is no point playing knight f6, just play bishop f5. The knight comes back, attacking the bishop retreats, and now most of the time they play moves like this. h4, you have to be very careful. This is, if he plays a move like this bishop is totally gone. So you have to play h6. Now usually they play, the main move is going to be to play knight f3. He's targeting knight c5. So you have to be very careful, attacking the bishop and then doubling your pawns. So you have to do something about it. Play knight d7, because you're controlling this square. Now he cannot come actually on e5. Otherwise you just exchange the knight. And here usually they push, you go bishop h7, and now they exchange the bishop. This is the main line. And this is a long line. Take the bishop. And here you have to play the move e6. The reason is that if he plays bishop f4, you want to have check. You want to check with the queen. And if he comes back, you want to be able to develop the bishop to b4, like this. Because if you didn't play this, then you wouldn't have actually this move, right? You wouldn't have it. So instead of playing, you had a choice. In this situation, you had a choice. In this one, actually, you had a choice between knight f6 or e6. These are the two moves. It's better to actually play e6. If he plays bishop d2, this doesn't make any difference. Because here, let me tell you something. White is going to long castle. They're not going to short castle in this situation, especially after playing such moves. So their king would be weaker actually on this side of the board. So they're going to long castle. Okay? So usually they're just going to develop the bishop here or here. If they develop the bishop here, you go check, bishop here, and when they push the pawn, you come back on e7. So you still developed actually the bishop on e7. And then you will go knight f6 and castle. You play this way. But now the queen here is asking a question basically here, right? So if he long castle now, that would be a disaster because you take the pawn and he has a lot of issues to deal with, right? But here, usually what happens, they push, obviously, asking a question, and you just come back to b6. So now you're asking a question to this one. That's my phone. That's my phone ringing. So you're asking a question to this one. Now they can either short castle, or they can play, you know, moves like b3, they can play rook b1, they can also long castle. In this situation, usually long castling in this situation is not good. You play knight gf6. When he goes, for instance, knight e5, in this situation, you just short castle. And you have this kind of position where, you know, one day you're going to be playing with c5. You're going to be playing with this kind of moves. The rook is going to come here. This one is going to come on d8. So you're going to have both rooks basically in the center like this, attacking the king. And I want you to have this kind of position. Now, he's not forced to actually put the bishop on f4. Instead, he can just play bishop d2. And now you do not have a check. That's a big difference. So now, in this situation, I want you to play knight f6. He's going to long castle. And you go bishop e7. Very simple chess. He's going to try to exchange the knight in the center. You exchange. He takes, attack the queen. The queen retreats. And now bring the queen, centralize the queen in this situation. And the reason why you do this is that you're super happy with black. Because, let's put it this way. If you castle here, That's gonna be pretty hard because his plan is to actually push the pawns and bother you on the king side. So you have to be careful about this. And in this situation, you're super happy to have an endgame. Super happy. So you go queen d5. You're attacking the pawn on a2, but you're also threatening to exchange queens with queen e4. In this situation, usually the main move is that they will push because they're gaining a tempo, so why not? They're attacking the queen, defending this pawn, and now you go queen e4. This is the variation I want you to play. If they exchange queens, you're doing well. You're attacking this with a possible fork here, so they have to go bishop e3. And now I want you to go f5. I know it's weird, right? You wouldn't play a move like this, right? Because you're thinking this one is weak. But it's quite hard in this situation to actually attack this pawn. It's not that easy, actually. And then what you're gonna do is that you're gonna short castle. First of all, this move has a clear target. You're threatening to push. And if he takes, look, let's say he plays a move like this. Now you're winning. f4, if bishop takes, boom, boom. Fork, give me that hook. So this is what happens. So this move has a clear target. So usually what they do is that they bring the rook in the center like this, instead of a3. So they bring the rook in the center in this situation, and now your castle. You know, and if he goes like, let's say something like knight e5 in this situation, now you have f4. He has to be careful. If he comes here, you take on e3. He takes on e7, you move the king. f7 gaining a tempo on this, now the position is totally equal. He comes back attacking your rook, and you can just take on f2 actually. So it's a simple exchange. You're attacking this one, he's attacking this one. You can have this kind of situation. But, you know, knight e5 is not forced here. Usually what they do in this situation, they can go with king c2. Trying to actually come in the center because this is an endgame. You go bishop d6. I want you to put the bishop here, the rook here, this one here. And then maybe pushing on b5 or sometimes pushing on c5. And you have a good position. And you will see it's not very easy to actually move this knight from here and attacking this pawn. Really not easy. Alright, I'm done. See you next time.